the Young Thug trial with the YSL, the Young Slime Life record label, Young Stoner Life, whatever you want to call it, the Slats. That trial has been ongoing. We are at day 154 today. Yes, day 154 of a trial that started the 3rd day of January. Remember, it was 11 months of jury selection prior to that. Well, this week we have seen multiple parties plea out and enter pleas. Remember when the trial started, the trial we've been watching, it was kind of the 6 bigger guys involved in YSL. Obviously, you had Young Thug, you had Yak Gotti, Rodalius Ryan, Shannon Stillwell, Marquavius Huey, and Quavius Nichols. The 6 of them. This all came from the aftermath of the incompetence of the prosecution for entering in inadmissible evidence, things that were going to cause a mistrial. So we're now to the point of some people are refusing to take a plea at all. So Yak Gotti is refusing to take a plea. And then Shannon Stillwell, one of the other parties involved, is refusing to take a plea. Well, who's the third guy left? Well, that third guy left is Young Thug. And Young Thug, Jeffrey Williams himself, entered a plea today. And he entered a plea to a couple of counts. Remember, guys, this is a RICO case. This is a RICO case claiming the YSL Gang, the YSL record label, is actually a gang. And all these people are doing music. It's actually just a cover for their gang. And this gang was involved in murders, drug dealing, racketeering, extortion, prostitution, human trafficking, you name it, robberies, everything they were doing as a gang, as a street gang in Atlanta, in the greater Atlanta area. And Fannie Willis's team went after them. This case has been going on forever. Well, multiple parties, these guys have been entering pleas. Now, why are they doing it? Well, I mean, these guys have been in jail for over 700 days, at least. Many of them have been in for quite a while. And it takes a lot. You know, people want to say like, oh, I've been, I wouldn't plea. You're in jail for 700 days, man. And this is dragging on. And anytime you're getting close to something, you're losing. Oh, well, we're going to get rid of Judge Glanville. Okay, well, we ended up with judges who are still refusing to do anything. Judge Whitaker is refusing to declare a mistrial. It's just turning into a disaster every time they go and do something. What do you do with that? Well, at this point, you've got the mistrial, and the judge really got mad. We covered this. The judge got very, 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 very pissed off. Well, we ended up with some very interesting information with Young Thug today, and there was a plea. And I will say that for some of the other parties involved, the interesting thing is everybody who's pled out so far has not pled to the murders. The state has been dropping charges left and right. A couple of the guys, I believe, Rodalius Ryan got 7 years that he's got to go serve. And then he's going to get out. So he's going to have to go serve some more time. And these guys are getting a little bit more time they have to deal with. But nobody's being forced to plead to the murder. What did Young Thug actually plead to? Well, this is something all the guys have had to plead to. And we get down to what actually they ended up pleading with. So we got a felony with probation. And that's a spoiler, chat. Young Thug got probation ultimately. He is getting out. It was a non-negotiated plea. And here's the thing. The prosecution told Young Thug, if you testify against Shannon Stillwell and Yak Gotti, we'll let you out right now, and we aren't going to hang time over your head. Sounds like a pretty good deal. Young Thug said he ain't doing that, and he refused. And he refused to cooperate with a bunch of their terms, so they ended up taking a plea, and they went to Judge Whitaker and made their arguments, and then Young Thug and his attorney made their arguments. And Young Thug's attorneys did a great job. Brian Steele and Keith Adams did a phenomenal job at protecting their client. No contest to the conspiracy to violate the RICO Act. So he pled no contest, no lo contendere. He was sentenced to 20 years, meaning he has to serve 5 years, and he was commuted to time served. And then he has the balance of the 15 years is probated. He also pled no contest to the unlawful for a person who occupies a position running a street gang. He pled no contest, meaning he's not saying that he did it. He's not going to contest he's not contesting the allegations. So he's got 5 years to serve, that got tacked on consecutive to count 1. He then got involved with unlawful conduct in a street gang and the similar sentence to count 1. And it's time served concurrent with count 1. Violation of the Georgia Controlled Substances Act. Same thing. He got very much just like count 1. Violation of a drug case, again, 5 years to serve. Violation of the Drug Act, 5 years to serve. And he's getting commuted because time served. He served a lot of time so far. Possession of a knife during the commission of a firearm. And this, I believe, was a machine gun offense. 5 years to serve, backloaded. It's consecutive to count 56. So he's got a lot of time hanging over his head, but he's got 15 years of probation, chat. And in that 15 years of probation, he's got some interesting terms. He is to do 100 hours of community service a year. You're like, okay, well, that's not a big deal. And you're like, yeah, you know what? Somebody like him, he could probably handle 100 hours of community service a year. That's not that big a deal. But what are some of the other things he's going to have to do? Well, what else he's going to have to do is he can't have any contact with other YSL members except for his brother and Gunna, who's a member of YSL, who apparently is a snitch, because he's contractually obligated to work with him. Now, his brother is his brother, so she can't force him not to do it. He cannot promote gang activity on social media, so he's probably not going to be allowed to do it. Not got to be careful what he sings about. He's not going to be allowed to do hand signs. He's not going to be allowed to wear colors. He can't go repping the set, as it were. He can't have contact with the victims. He's allowed to have no firearms, except he's allowed to have armed security. He is allowed to travel for business. He's keeping his passport. And part of that is he has a house out in California. And because of that, he has been excluded from coming to the metro Atlanta area for 10 years. Basically, he has a 10-year exile from the Atlanta area. And if you guys don't understand, that's a big fucking area. Now, he could come back for funerals, weddings, if a family member's sick and dying, stuff like that. But that's it. He has to get notice he's coming back into town. But he's been exiled. He's literally exiled. And this is something apparently you could do under the Georgia Constitution. But he's banned from the Atlanta metropolitan area, which, if you guys have never seen it, this is a rough map of it. It's all these counties. And if you aren't aware, this is Fulton County. That's where Atlanta is. But you got Cobb County. We've heard these names before. There's Gwinnett, DeKalb, all these counties. And you notice that, the gray parts are not part of the metropolitan area. But what's it look like on an actual map? Like, where is this in terms of Atlanta? Here it is in terms of Atlanta, chat. Look how big this is. The greater Atlanta metropolitan area, she says, and the judge said, as defined by the U.S. Census. This is the state of Georgia. Okay, chat? Look at all that he can't go to. And here's the thing. You're like, well, that means you go to the rest of Georgia. I think most people who live in Georgia say, like, there ain't really nothing here. This is all nothing. Brian Steele did give a press conference, and I do think it's actually it's actually very interesting to see. So I think it's worth listening to. We're not going to listen to the whole thing, but I do think we should listen to a little bit of it. So guys, if you aren't aware, this is Brian Steele, the guy who was threatened with jail time. And then on next to him is Keith Adams, his co-counsel. They were very, very good there.
All right, if y'all don't mind talking us through the decision to make a plea and just how today ended up going and transpiring.
Well, this was excruciating because hopefully, in our collective opinion, Jeffrey would have been found not guilty of everything. So this is very painful. But that's another 3 months or so in custody. And he wants to go home to his family. And negotiations totally broke down with the district attorney's office. Horribly broke down. And at that point, we believe that justice.
But as you can see, they thought they could win. They probably told Thug, they were a great case. We'll get an acquittal. But you got to sit in jail for like another 90 to 100 days. That's not easy. And his family wanted him home. That happens all the time, guys. My family, I got to take care of my family. They need me. It's a very common plea reason.
We found with the honorable court. And Jeffrey just wanted to go home. How agonizing it is to know that we've spent a year trying a case where the prosecutors have put on lies, knowing lies, hiding evidence, is insane in 2024 in the United States of America. And the only reason that this got revealed is because of you people. You people brought the truth to the community because nobody knows this. This is not the only courtroom it's happening in. And I just want to thank all of you. I especially want to thank Jeffrey for letting me represent him. I think he's a wonderful person who does wonderful things and will continue to do things even greater. I cannot express to you how Shaquille Kokomo, how Trisha Renard, how Haley, how my wife Colette, how Bram, how countless people, but especially Miss Courtney Edwards, have worked without sleep for 3 years representing Jeffrey and helping him. I will never be able to stand with anyone more ethical, honest, hardworking, insightful, intelligent, and kind than the Honorable Keith Adams. The gentleman to my left is the best lawyer in the country.
Mr. Steele, you would think prosecutors negotiate.
You know, these two attorneys right here, and both these guys kicked fucking ass at the trial. And guys, remember, this is the same attorney, Brian Steele, when, you know, he said, take me to jail. And then Keith Adams said, you know what? Take me to jail too. I'm just as in trouble as he is, Judge. Fuck you too. I should be in jail. And called him out. So both these guys are they're awesome.
Cheated in good faith at all during any of these negotiations?
Let me take this.
So basically they're asking, did the prosecution negotiate in good faith? And no, it doesn't sound like they did. But it's funny because even the judge admitted and noticed, you guys are letting them do no contest. You're dropping the murder case. Nobody's probably going to end up being convicted of this fucking murder. And yeah, the prosecutors are looking like fucking idiots.
Let me answer that. The short answer is no. This is a case that possibly could have been resolved if folks were reasonable. But we did not believe that we could enter into good faith negotiations with people who wanted a case resolved in a manner simply to save face. And Jeffrey Williams was not going to say things that they wrote for him, that they wanted him to say, that was their theory when it wasn't true. And so, good faith, no. I don't believe we were ever really negotiating in good faith. And you've been here the past year that this case has been on trial. You've seen the numerous motions for mistrial. You've seen the behavior of the state. You've seen the dishonesty. You've seen everything being hidden. You've seen things come out in court in front of you. And so you know what kind of prosecution we were dealing with. And that's okay. You know, Mr. Steele and I have fought through this the past 2.5 years. And as he said, we ultimately decided we were going to put our faith in the court as opposed to the folks on the other side of the aisle. And, you know, the best thing out of all of this is that Jeffrey Williams, in a very short period of time, will be home. And that's all we've wanted from May 9th, when they went and picked him up and have held him in jail without a bond for the past 2.5 years. He'll be home shortly.
So ultimately, Young Thug could have got nuked. And that was the thing. They put a lot of faith in Judge Whitaker. I was waiting for her to fuck him over because she's been a disgusting judge without any fucking integrity. She refused to do anything about the ex parte hearings, and she refused to declare a mistrial. So I give her credit for finally showing a spine and doing the right thing, but I didn't think it was going to happen. Now, at this point, there are two guys left, Yak Gotti and Shannon Stillwell. Yak Gotti's represented by Doug Weinstein. You have seen him on Kat's show. You've seen him on with Nick Starro. And then the other, Shannon Stillwell, is represented by Max Shart. And those two guys have been fucked. Like, when it hasn't been Brian Steele and Keith Adams going at it, those are the two guys that have been fucking going toe-to-toe with the prosecutor and tearing their shit up. So it's going to be good. This trial is still ongoing, guys. Don't forget about them. If you follow it on Twitter, don't forget about it. You know, keep making sure the world knows these two guys are refusing to take a plea, are, you know, challenging the state. Make sure people know what's going on there. I'm going to do my part about it. but make sure people know how fucked up this is. You know, don't let it slack. Don't let it stop. The Twitter account Thugger Daily is still doing a great job. He's going to keep covering things, as I hope he does, because the war is not over yet. It's going to keep going.